And he just grabs the lower control arm and just goes, and I was like, I literally went, oh my God.
And it got to the shop, and basically the story was I slept in the car the night it got there, and it was kind of one of those things, we can't let this car get cut up and turned into a drag car over in Australia. That's not going to happen.
It kinked the roof. I mean, she hit me. The cop told me she was probably going about 45 when she hit me. And I was dead stopped.
I won $50 in a slow car shootout at Sac Raceway for having the slowest car in competition.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Let It Ride podcast. This is episode 2. I hope everyone enjoyed episode 1. I am Jake Freeman from the Shift Points YouTube channel, and I'm here with my friend.
What's going on, guys? I'm Collin Andrews, and I'm at the Daily Misfire Monday through Friday, 7 days a week. I don't know what you're doing.
It's literally 7 days a week. It's all we do. It's all we do. We make reels, we make content, and we just churn it out.
Most of the time I do like 6 days a week.
We sound terrible. Like we sound like we're just so miserable. It's more like we love our lives. But
this is the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I hate this so much though.
Some days you just, it's a lot. But anyway, so like I said, thank you for everybody that watched episode 1. I think it was a pretty good turnout on YouTube for kind of the first one. Luckily we've, both of us have a decent enough following that we got a good start on it. And I hope if this is your first time here that you're going to enjoy it. First off, we want to kick it off about just kind of doing how we're going to structure this kind of going forward, at least initially, is kind of doing some updates on what's going on, kind of dig into some of the detail. I think Collin and I both go into quite a bit of detail on what we're doing in our videos, but at the same time, sometimes we don't, we can always turn the camera off, So we try really hard to keep it real. If we screw up or something screws up, we show you, we tell you. But at the same time, we still can't give you all the detail because sometimes you just get so focused in on what you're working on that you forget to film it, So we want to kind of use this time at the beginning of each podcast to give an update. And I know you have been very, very busy. What have you been into?
I am absolutely beat up right now.
I know you are. I've noticed your hands are still black and your knuckles are bloody.
Yeah, it's busted knuckle garage right now. So if you haven't watched the last YouTube video that I've put out, you should go watch it right now. I greatly appreciate it.
No, wait till the end of this and then watch it.
Yeah. No, leave right now. Go watch it and then come back. No. So my 1981 crew cab Chevrolet Silverado dually, I've been working on that truck.
The cowboy Cadillac.
That's what I'm going to call it. The redneck Silverado, however you want to put it. So that truck, we talked a little bit about it in the last podcast, but it is a 454. It was a turbo 400 truck. And the last video I did, it was a 480 swap in that truck. And that was a thing. But we use an FI Tech transmission controller, which is really freaking cool using that thing. That's honestly, the truck is not cool enough for that transmission controller. It has options for paddle shifters. It has all these really cool things, and I'm using it in a tow vehicle, which is...
Welcome to the Daily Misfire, where we put really nice parts on crappy cars.
It's almost like how Hot Rod Magazine or Motor Trend would do things. And it's like, we're going to put this Blueprint 632 in that. What's that? A 76... Corvette.
It was in the parking lot.
It was in the parking lot. I don't know. It was $800. Okay, leave me alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been doing that. We got the 480 swap in it, which it is choice over the Turbo 400 in that truck.
It's so nice.
I was cruising yesterday in the truck, and it was 75 miles an hour at 2,400 RPM.
Really?
In the big block.
Dang, that's awesome.
Nice because it has a lockup and everything.
Right.
With it, so
what was it doing before?
I couldn't do 75. It would be like 3,300 RPM. It was just screaming. That poor 454. It was bad. But we got all that apart. And while the truck was up in the air, I realized how bad ball joints and everything actually was. It would make clunking noises when you would turn the wheel, but you just kind of ignore that kind of stuff because it generally drives fine.
I really liked how the lower A-arm was non-attached on the driver's side, but non-positioned.
I took the bolts off the upper and lower ball joints, and it just fell apart. I didn't even have to break ball joints. It was that bad. I drove cross country with that truck. Yeah, you drove from California to East Tennessee in that truck, and it's funny because if you've watched our videos, I'm a pretty calm guy. I don't get really fired up about stuff or get super surprised about it. I'm sitting at home the other day and all of a sudden Collin says, "Hey, watch this." And I see the video and he's like, "Just asking for a friend." And you've seen the short if you follow his channel, and he just grabs the lower control arm and just goes, and I was like, I literally went,
Oh my God. I was like, and even I sent it to Dad because I was so shocked. I sent it to him and he goes, he about busted his butt. It was exactly what he said back to me.
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, so my reasoning for behind this, I'm like, it was probably fine. The shock is on the back, the sway bar is connecting to the front. It's like triangulating that thing. It probably wasn't moving that much. I'm sure it's fine.
But it still had the option to do it.
It did. Well, and I posted that video and there was people like, well, you loosened the nuts on the U-bolts. I'm like, no, I didn't touch any of that. I literally just undid the spindle. It fell. And when I grabbed the shock or something like to get up, or I was like, it just moved like 2 inches, and I was like, whoa. Oh, and you kind of hit that.
Because you have that like the world sets in on you, like you realize what's been going on for so long.
But I started doing all the ball joints and everything, and I messaged DJM Suspension through their email, which we talked about that before. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't watch that last video, I messaged DJM Suspension. They do a lot of trucks-oriented suspension, from anything from, I think they do 60s Chevrolet trucks to like new like Fords and Dodges and stuff. Mm-hmm. They cover all kinds of suspension stuff. They're really cool. They sent me the lowering kit, so it's a 3/4 drop lowering kit with shocks and everything for the dually. And I spent the last about week probably swapping all that stuff over, and we're on the better side of it all. I'm driving it. It looks like Tokyo Drift dually right now because there's cambers like that in the truck right now. But that's going good, and we got it running. It's back together. I've been cleaning up my trailer and everything for the race season because it's starting next week.
Yeah, that's true.
So repainted my trailer, got it all cleaned up. Need to do all the just wheel stuff over it, check everything over. Yeah. Make sure lights all work. And
did you start painting a trailer? Did I see you were doing that too? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I hate paint, so
I've been learning to use paint with a gun, and it's
you bought like fun. A Harbor Freight gun or something? Yeah.
It's actually fun. Like painting with an actual gun. It's
fun. I don't hate, like I always say I hate it, but like Dad always makes me paint, so I like reluctantly don't hate it, I guess. But like but I imagine actual like real paint, not Rattle Can Mafia is probably a little better.
I'm very much Rattle Can Mafia too, but when it comes to the whole paint thing, I'm like, if I'm painting something really big, then if I go Home Depot and get some Rust-Oleum from there and some paint thinner, it's like $30 for that, and then paint gun is like $16, and you have air and you just done. Do
you have any sort of dryer or anything on your compressor? Like air dry? Okay, I was just curious about how that did. Just straight, okay, all right, send it.
It's a trailer. It's a trailer.
I mean, I know. I was just curious if you had done it. Because we're looking, we were talking about potentially getting a plasma cutter, which we've wanted for years. But we need to put a dryer system on this compressor, which luckily is off. I've had that turn on during podcasts before, by the way. But anyway, we were talking about putting a dryer system on it. I was just curious if you had done that.
No, and I remember the one that we had in California, we didn't have a dryer system on that one either. We just had the evac tube, basically. So right before you would go shoot anything, you would just evac it and
we've got that on the bottom down there too.
So you just spray it out and just prefer to try to like make it to where it was the compressor itself was cool. Yeah. So it wasn't actually building up any water or anything, but I don't know how that works. It's chemistry that I failed, but. So that's what we would do, and that's what I'm planning to do with the Nova's hood and everything, because I need to repaint that and stuff, because it's patinaed fiberglass right now,
which I think is fine. Yeah, by the way, fine. I'll still say it's fine until you paint it. Then I'll be like, that looks pretty good.
I have satin black Rust-Oleum sitting in the shop right now. I think that'll be a lot better.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like a sheeny flat black. It'll look good.
That makes sense.
And I started taking the Nova apart yesterday. I'm going to swap over removing the battery to the back.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be the next thing after I do the finish. Hopefully I'll get the suspension drop video done this week. Hopefully it'll be out before this video will be out. And then hopefully by the time this video is out, the battery relocation will be done, and hopefully it'll be racing and stuff. Assuming I have tires.
Yeah, that's true. But did you get some ordered?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, gotcha.
So that's where
what's this?
That's the rear reverse light out of the Nova. That's where the battery reverse The shut off is going to be through.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
So
All right. Why is this in your pocket?
I'm bringing it for plastic, so I can get a plastic fitting to go through here, like a grommet to go through here.
Gotcha.
At some point, I'm going to go swing by an Ace or something.
Yeah, makes sense.
I just threw it in my pocket this morning when I was
I'm with you.
random car parts.
We've been pretty busy too. We have kind of been doing like a bunch of odd jobs.
Okay.
So like setting up stuff. So we're trying to kind of we were talking about it before we got on here. We're trying to kind of get some stuff working in the background for Dad's the engine that's going in his car, in his 55 drag car. So we got those sent off. They're going down to some guys to get some cylinder head work done. They're going to basically assemble them. It's definitely getting titanium intake valves, potentially getting titanium exhaust valves.
So wild.
It's the valves are going to be probably nicer than the cylinder heads. But to be fair, the guys that are doing the work on them, when they get done with them, they'll probably be pretty good, I think.
When you're talking about those valves, I'm sitting here going, your valves are more than my entire engine cost.
They're going to be a little expensive, probably.
But go fast stuff. I understand.
Yeah. Well, what I told you, what did we say earlier? They were going to be like 2-inch, 300 or 350, depending on, that's what the intake size is going to be.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's going to be wild. I'm super stoked to finally hear that engine run one day, because like we've had so many of the parts for so long, and just like and the block's literally sitting right there off camera. I keep looking at it because it's just teasing you. It wants to get going. So we were working on that. Shout out to my buddy Chris at WAF Racing. He they make a lot of shameless plug for them, because I like that guy a lot.
Chris is awesome.
He's awesome. And so shameless plug for them, but basically they make a lot of different tools, a lot of stuff to build, to work on carburetors and stuff, but they also make engine assembly tools, specifically ring compressors and ring alignment tools. And recently they just came out with this like ring organizer that you can put your upper, mid, and your oil rings in. And so like when you're filing your rings and stuff, you can keep that stuff in order, and it's got front of engine, rear of engine on it. So to help you keep your stuff in order when you're working on it. So when I saw he put that up, I was like, hey Chris, I got a request, and he's going to get that sent out. I'm guessing tomorrow, because he'd put up a short today saying that they had that stuff printed. But funny story from Chris though, when I reached out to him and told him, I said, hey, I need a ring compressor, and he goes, okay, and I said it's a 4-inch 560, and he was like, okay, is it not on our website? And I was like, no. And then then I could tell he definitely read the message again, and he was like, WTF are you working on that's got a 4-inch 560 board? I said, the big block for Dad's car. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll get you one printed. So it's cool. They make their 3D printed stuff. So if they don't have something that you're looking for online, you can always just send them a message, reach out to him on social media or something like that. And he's really good about going and making changes and getting stuff printed for stuff that you need. Because when I reached out to him, like, it wasn't 2 hours later, he already had them listed on the website, and then, like I said, 2 days later, he already had them built and took a video of them this morning. So they do a really cool job. But so we're working on the 55. We did a couple of little odd jobs to the 55 truck and to my truck. More plugs. We're not sponsored by any of these people. I mean, DJM, they gave you parts. But as far as like what I'm talking about, we're not. But LS Fab makes parts for square body trucks and Dad's 55 truck. They basically make it from like 47 up through the OBS trucks. Random stuff, billet pieces. I mean, they make billet steering wheels and billet door handles, like odd stuff, but also some super useful stuff. Like on my C10 truck, they make the trunnions at the bottom that the tailgate hinges on. Basically, they make ones where ours are like steel. It's like steel on steel there. They have ones that are the bracket is stainless and the actual trunnion itself is made out of Delrin. And so when you lower your tailgate, it makes no noise. And they make a replacement kit for the metal hinges, and you basically replace them with like the steel straps like it's on a modern truck. And so now when I lower my tailgate on my C10, there's no noise. It just drops down. It's so nice. It's just it's little stuff, because like I could see that those were rusting. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do something about that. So I got those changed out. And then we also put a modern hydraulic strut kit onto Dad's 55 truck for the hood. Another piece that, man, I had high expectations for their stuff because it looked good online, but then when we worked with it, I was like, holy cow, like this is nice stuff. And they, the cheapest, but like also reasonably priced for like what it is. And then when you get it, you're like, oh, this is worth every penny. All the brackets, I didn't measure the thickness, but like very thick brackets, all stainless, bent well, everything bolted. Like you followed their instructions and it lined up perfect, dead on. You didn't have to make any changes. The only thing we had to make a little bit of a change to was opening up the slot on the metal straps for the tailgate. Yeah. And it said in the instructions, like, there's some flashing in there sometimes. You might have to just clear that off a little just to get it on. And so they even called it out, so I was okay with it. But yeah, so just like a ton of odd jobs since the last time we were together. Still working on the 55 itself. We got the body lined up really well. The front end's on it. So we're just working. I mean, just working. And the 55 is an animal in of itself, because we have some of Dad's friends and even my friends are like, why don't you just get that done? I'm like, man, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? And it sounds like super criticism, but it is like, it's one of those things. It's like every job on that takes 3 times longer than and even what you expect, even what we expect. And if you take that to someone else, like someone that doesn't do it every day, basically, it takes so much time. Like we've worked on that, I'm guessing 3 weeks, and we've only done enough for me to do what I would consider one video, because it's like, it's so little, but it's so time consuming, but it makes a big difference. The front end sits on it. The front end's fiberglass. Correct. It actually has the right radius in it. So looks wise, and Dad's sat here and looked at this car for 30 years since he last run it. And so he's had a list of things to identify on this car that he's like, I want this right before we take it back. I want this right before we take it back. So just a lot of little jobs that really add up.
That's totally fair.
So that's where we've been living in the little job world, but it's awesome, it's been a lot of fun though. But
the whole little job thing's just, well, like you were saying about just little things like matching the hood, getting that front end on the way it needs to be set. I mean, people will look at it and go, oh, that's really good. It looks really good, but don't realize how much work you guys actually had to get into. I mean, you're shaving parts to make things actually fit the way it needs to. I mean, it's not just, let me adjust this like you're adjusting a hood.
There's no bolt on. There's nothing on this. We're literally fabricating the parts.
And then fiberglass stuff is that much worse, because no matter how much money you spend on fiberglass stuff, it'll always be shaved to fit, somewhat sort of fit. I mean,
you have to be.
My Nova's fiberglass hood I got in my car, it was $80 I found on Marketplace. It was already on another car. Yeah. So someone had already gone through the work to mount it on another car, and you still had to fit it. I still had to fit it to my car because it's different, and it's just, it's
and like I said, just it's we love it and we love working on that car, but it's one of those things I wish so bad I could just be like, and it's done, but it just don't work that way, unfortunately.
You wish it was like Forza or Gran Turismo or something like that. You just spend like 10 grand.
And then they change the parts on the car. 30 seconds later, it's done.
Done.
That's my favorite thing. I wish that's how it was. Or I wish maybe we had like 50 people behind the scenes. It's just me and Dad filming, and then we're like, all right, boys, get in here. No,
let's go. Yeah,
it's just us. It's always just us.
Well, that's like everyone talking crap to Finnegan about the Cadillac, trying to get his Cadillac together like the last 5 years. Like he's had that car.
He has had that car a long time.
He's had that car a long time.
I was rewatching Roadkill for like the 3rd time now, and I was amazed at how long ago it was when it was like, I'm guessing 2018, because it was all the pre-COVID episodes, because because I'm in the COVID episodes right now. And so like it was pre-COVID when he got it. So I'm guessing it's 2017, 2018 when he picked that car up on a Roadkill episode.
Which is a funny story. One of my friends from California actually sold them that car.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was one of the hangar that they're in. That was their hangar and everything. It was, I can't remember the story that they got it, but his dad's actually very upset that he's tore it apart. He cut it apart.
There's always stories like that.
It was a super nice like driver car, and my friend's like, oh, I think it's really cool because it's going to be this thing. But his dad's like, I hate that car now. I know.
It's crazy to me. Well, there's a similar story to that with Dad's 55. And I guess we'll tell that one day. But it's very similar to. I was thinking about that today. We're going to have Dad on and just let him tell stories, because he is full of it.
We'll prod him into talking about certain things.
I think if you're here, maybe you can instigate him into it a little more.
You're his son, so it's just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he always gives me, well, you've heard this 1,000 times. And I'm like, yeah, I probably have, but I still listen. You know?
See, I'm new, so it's like, well,
exactly.
I haven't heard
It'll be
story,
a new story.
So,
perfect.
Yeah, tell me.
Yeah,
about
so we'll
more.
get him to tell that story at some point. But it's a similar to that deal. Yeah. But that's cool. It was funny that because it's amazing how small the car world is.
Oh yeah.
Because there's a guy that follows us, and man, I'm blanking on his name, and I feel terrible about it. But he started messaging me. He was messaging me during sick week.
Okay.
And his it was either him or like his brother or like his best friend sold Cletus mullet, or not mullet, but the car that lumberjack. Lumberjack. That lumberjack car. He sold him that car to run for that like cheap car challenge. It's sick week, and I was like, what a small world.
A friend of a friend, or it's like 3 degrees of separation at all times, and it's just like, wow, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Like 'cause sometimes you don't think about it, but you really. You're a lot closer to people that are kind of what we would consider big now. Like you're really close to them. Or you're a lot closer to them. Like you're maybe 2 people away from them at any time, you know?
I mean, during drag week, Freiberger looked at my car while we were rolling through. I mean, he walked by my car as we were like looking at stuff, and he's like, oh, cool little Chevy too. Like, that was, it's just one of those things. And like, you see people. Yeah.
Well, it was like us when we went to Bristol for drag week. We walk up and Keith Turk's sitting there like hitting his vape, and he's just like chilling, and we're like, and he like walks up to me, and I'm just standing there holding my camera, and he goes, "Who are you with?" And I was like, Mr. Turk, it's just me and my dad, and we're just here doing videos, and just basically like that, and we stood there and talked to him for like 45 minutes, and Keith's like cool racing guy. Started. He's talking to us about what we're doing, all this different stuff, and I'm like. I've known you, like I've known you for so long, like from different stuff, and then he's sitting there talking. Racing has started.
Like
their cars
does not care.
No, still talking, and I'm like, I'm standing there, and there were some friends of Dad's that were with us, and they kind of exit the conversation. They go wander off, and I told Dad, I was like. Keith Turk could have stood there and talked to me all day, and I would not have moved. No, there's absolutely no chance that I'd have been like, it was good talking to you, but I'm going to head out. No, sir.
No, that is...
no, sir.
I know we talked to Keith during drag week too. The one that I think it was when we were at Darlington, I think we talked to him a little bit, and there was a couple other times we would like have like passing conversations with him, and there was one time where we were talking about like the rain and stuff like that. But you walk up to him, he's like a normal dude.
He's they're just guys. They're all just guys. Finnegan, Freiberger, they're just all just guys.
You
just see them so much. You get so like they seem like a celebrity in you, but they're just guys.
Yeah, they are. They're car guys. You talk to Finnegan about certain things. He says, I'm not a mechanic. I'm a car guy. He talks about that kind of stuff. Freiberger says the same stuff.
Yeah.
Finnegan, Mr. I would classify him as a fabricator too, and he doesn't call himself a fabricator. He's like, no, I have no idea what I'm doing about it.
No one does.
No one does. It's just funny when you hear them talk about it, and then you see what all they're doing and everything. It's wild.
They don't see it like I imagine they see what they're doing sometimes as like what we do.
Yeah,
that's just it. They're just doing what they like. They're working on their cars, and it's basically what I told Dad. Well, we can work on this stuff, or we can work on it and set up a video camera while we're working on it, because why not? Basically. And I think that's kind of how it went with them too. They're like, hey, we're going to do this thing because we think it's fun, and we're going to video and just see how it goes. And then it went crazy.
Yeah, they all did. We talked to Tom Bailey, we talked to Steve Morris while we were on drag week. Passing conversations when you see them.
Did you see where Chris is printing Steve Morris stuff?
Yeah.
That was super cool. He's got those giant spark plug holders for him, but it's got his logo on it, and he's selling it on his website. I was like, dude, that's sweet.
That's awesome. Steve Morris is actually really cool. With all the stuff he builds, is so insane.
Yeah, it is.
I'm trying to remember which one it was I saw the other day. Was it he built Hemi heads for an LS.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think I think that's what it was. It was a Hemi LS build. And they were literally an all billet LS block, and
just looks like jewelry.
I'm like, that's like $100,000 motor at least. Like that, easy. Just the block and the heads are probably $100,000. I'm like, good Lord. But but then you meet them at drag week, and we were at a stop, and my dad went over and asked Tom Bailey, because he was generally curious, because they put those big, huge, over mountains tires that they put on the back.
Oh
of
yeah,
this.
like they look like mud tires.
They're big, huge, and that's what they are. They're big, huge mud tires.
Yeah.
And he said the reason behind them is you can deflate them totally, and you can just shove them up underneath the wheel well, and you don't have to unbolt anything out of the rear end.
Okay.
So that way you just kind of shove it up in there, you air it up, and you're good to go.
Good to go.
And so
you get traction going down the road and all that.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, my dad just walked up to Tom Bailey. He's like, so I see all these hot rod, fast cars, the pro mods around here. What's the deal with these tires? And I mean, and Tom is, and just talk to him about that stuff.
I always figured he would be like that to talk to, yeah.
And then I'm walking over to the Devco truck because it's sitting at the same stop, and Steve Morris comes and jumps in the driver's seat, and he's just like sits down and says, this seat's so much nicer than inside, because he's riding in 6 seconds, and he's like, this thing's so much nicer to sit in. And I'm like, you look a little tired. He's like, a little bit. He's like, a little bit. And he's just sitting there like,
yeah.
But I'm like,
you get starstruck. I mean, but it's still, but they're just people, and they're there to have fun.
Yeah.
And they just, they do their thing.
Having fun with staying up till 4 o'clock.
Well, yeah. That's what we would do. I mean, we would say we were having fun. Yeah. I hope we're doing that on Six Smokies here in October.
I don't want to take part.
Not till 4 o'clock, please. No, I don't want to do it up till 4 o'clock.
If I'm up till 4 o'clock, it's because we're drinking frosty beverages and editing video from the night before. We're hanging out and like, hey, was this cool?
True. Yeah.
That's what I would rather be. Not ripping a rear end apart and trying to set up gears.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
No, or try to put a Marketplace 700R4 in my car.
Let's not do that either.
No, or 4L60 in your truck.
Yeah. Oh no, that's at the forefront of my mind is that transmission.
Well, you and I have the same transmission. You just have an electronic version of mine.
Yeah, that's true. 100%. But I still worry about it.
I have 168 on my car, on my transmission. You're fine. You're fine. True. Is yours rebuilt?
No, that's the one from 2009. It's got like 100 and right at 100,000 miles on it, something like that. It'll be fine. I think it'll be fine. It shifts good, so we got the pressures up a little. So anyway, all right. That's our project update and our ramblings. Yeah. So I think we should probably get into kind of the meat of this episode. So one of the first, during our first episode, we said something about, well, one day we'll tell the stories of our first cars. And this isn't something I've ever told the story about on anything that we've done or anything like that.
It's crazy you haven't.
I know. I just never thought about it. And it's like, I guess if I still had the car, I would have. But since I don't, do you even know the ending of that car? I don't think you do.
You mentioned... Okay. Like in passing something, but that's all I
didn't think
I
told you the whole detail of it. But anyway, so I think if I had still had the car and we were doing something with it, it would have been different. But like you
probably feel jaded based off the ending, so you're just kind of...
Nah, I mean, not really. But anyway, so let's get into it. So you want me to go first?
You have the floor, sir.
I have the floor. All right, my first car was a 1992 RS Camaro. It had the RS wheels. It was a 5-speed hardtop car, which like looking back at it, it's such foreshadowing because it's like exactly where we ended up like today. It's like if I wish so bad I still had this car because I mean it had a 305 in it. It wasn't a 350 car. 305 5-speed hardtop. And like that's literally what I look for in things now when I'm like on Marketplace looking for something. I'm like, all right, is it got T-tops? Nah, nope. Has it got a automatic? Nope. Get out of that. Don't need that. And so like that's it. It literally, I guess it solidified my personality when I was like however old. But this was a used car that was actually my sister's first car also. So. You guys have I've told you guys the story in various times now in different platforms on the Faith Family Cars podcast, as well as on our top 5 tools video that we had. Basically the story of Freeman Hot Rod Repair and kind of how that went. But the super Cliff Notes version of it is mom and dad both lost their jobs at the same time. That, things NAFTA, Christy, my older sister, was getting ready to go into college. I was about 9 years old when this kind of happened. And so we went into a completely different lifestyle suddenly, again, not realizing it, what was going on there really, which thankful for them for, handling it the way they did. But anyway, so Christy wants a car. She's turning 16, 50, get your permit at 15. She turns 16, she gets her license, and she wants a car, as you would. And so they find this 305 5-speed Camaro, white car. It had the bra on the hood. I never understood why you do that, but anyway, so it had that, and so Dad gets it. He buys it.
What year was that about?
2003.
So that dates where
2002.
So that little bra thing is dating.
Yeah,
it's
of that time. Yeah, very much. So anyway, so he gets the car, and I asked him before we come in here to like refresh my memory on it, because again, I was 9 when we got it. It's like, so what was the story on that car? He bought it used from our family friend David Barr. He has a used car lot up in Asheville. David was raced down at Greer Dragway for years and years. Kind of this. I want to say I don't want to say like local hero, because it kind of demeans him a little. I think it means like he was a very, very good drag racer, very, very good driver, and still probably could do it today, to be honest with you. And so anyway, we got it from David, and Dad brought it home and told her that he was working on it for David. And he said, yeah. She's like, that's my car. And he was like, no, it's not your car. We didn't get you this car. I got to do some work to it. I think he did have to do a few things to it. I can't remember what it was. But basically then comes out, she's 16, boom, it's your car. So and he told me earlier he didn't think she ever actually believed him. And I believe that, to be honest, with my sister. I'd say that's probably true. She always had in the back of her mind that was her car. So anyway, so she drives it all through high school from the time she's 16 until she gets ready to leave for college. And then, actually she drove it a little while she's in college in UNC Charlotte. And so she probably had the car for 4 or 5 years, and then she brought it back here. All right, what you got?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So I thought you had a question.
No.
So then enter Jake. Yeah. So I get ready to get my first car, and I basically know it's going to be this car. Not like I'm like, there was no question about it. Like, it made sense. It was basically here. She had bought another car and basically sent it back home because Mom and Dad never made us pay for anything like that. They let us have it. But like, same deal. When we got done with it, or we changed cars or whatever, it came back here and it was theirs. And so so it was sitting here, kind of, I kind of knew it was coming from me. So they put a radio in it for me, because and that car, it didn't have a CD player or anything. I think it still had like a tape player, you know what I mean? And so they put a nice new radio in it, and not a sound system, just a radio that would work well and things like that, which I was stoked about, because I mean, everyone, if you watch my stuff, I love music. And back then I was even more into it. So we put a new radio in it, and they got it painted for me. So they took the stupid bra off. When they took the bra off, the bra, because of the way they make, as it goes down the road, it's doing this.
So there's
and so
huge stripe.
It just beat the paint off of it. I'm like, you put this on it to protect the paint, and this thing actually was worse than if you just driven it.
It protects from bugs. So I don't have to wash it as much, okay?
Yeah, okay. So anyway, they get it painted and all that, and I drive it. Now, I have to bring you back to Jake as a teenager. I was a real pain in the butt, man. I mean, like, looking back on it, like, my personality back then was so much different than it is now. I was a real pain in the butt. To get me to learn to drive a straight drive was like pulling teeth at the time. And like, me and Dad are yelling at each other. I mean, he had his OBS truck at that point. I literally got that thing up on 2 wheels in Weaverville one time, because like, I was just being a jerk and just didn't hit the brakes. I just saw the wheel to the right, and it literally picked up on 2 wheels, and we set it back down, and I look at it and I go, "What?" And he's like, "You literally just about flipped this lowered OBS truck." So he was like, "I don't know how you did that." So like, there's my personality as a teenager.
That's a testament to your dad's patience too, because I've seen your dad. He's not a little guy. No. And
he's patient.
He's very patient.
But the thing is he lost his patience, because who actually ended up getting me to do it was Mom. Because,
that's funny.
And this is like the story of my life. Me and Dad yell and argue about something when I was a kid, and then at some point it would get so bad that Mom would step in. And at that point, when she was pissed off enough that she like got on me, I knew I had really messed up. And literally that right there.
Yes, ma'am.
And so like, we're driving it one day, she's like, "Don't you kill this a single more time. If you kill it again, I don't care if you do a burnout, the whole length of the road. Do not kill this car." And so, okay. I dumped the clutch and just put it to the floor. We pulled out through there, and I got done. I thought, well, that's pretty cool.
Was that in the Camaro or the OBS?
That was in the Camaro, I think. Yeah, no, it was definitely in the Camaro. Yeah. So it probably one tire deal. I don't think the thing had a posi in it. But like, I remember being like, that was almost like a switch flipped. I was like, oh. That was really cool. And so maybe that was the other foundation of my personality, was that there. So anyway, that's the story of the first car. But at the end of the day, how that car, why I say I don't have it anymore, New Year's Eve of my junior year in high school. I went to pick up the girl that I was dating at the time. We were going to go out for New Year's Eve, and there's a mountain near here called Doggett Mountain. I'll have to take you to it one day, but it's like, it makes the tail of the dragon look like baby's work. I mean, This thing is ridiculous. There's so many turns
back here that are just insane.
And this one it's that you're going up the whole time, and there's like, I don't know how many full switchbacks there are on it, but like this road is crazy curvy. And so she lived over in Spring Creek was the name of the place. But anyway, I had went and picked her up, and we were heading to Asheville. And you come across the mountain to go to Asheville, and we get to the very bottom of the mountain. That's what sucked. It was like the second to last turn, and so we're there. And a lady comes around the corner, and it's amazing how like you can vividly remember this whole thing. Yeah. I literally, we're in the straightaway. She comes around the corner like this, coming up the road toward us, and she was definitely texting. And she just fades into she just fades in our lane, and there is nowhere to go because over here is cliff face basically, and here is a mountainside. So there's nowhere to go. And I remember jammed it in first gear and just locked everything down, clutch brakes, everything, and sawed it to the right. And at the same time, I said, she's going to hit us. And I remember that vividly too. And then boom, and the 92 airbag comes out, hits me, it busts my nose. Only thing I got out of it, fortunately, was that scar right there. Something because I was just holding the stick, and I had the steering wheel, and I sawed it like this, and something I punched, and it cut it, and that was it. That like little bitty scratch, probably
plastic thing that broke.
And so that killed it. I mean, it killed that car. The clutch pedal and the brake pedal came together. She hit me so hard it came to the roof.
Wow.
The cop told me.
Which side did she hit you?
On the left side, on my side. So yeah, on the driver's side.
In the car, pretty much.
No, she hit it like kind of at an angle. So like if you're looking at the tops of the car, I'm coming down the road like this. I turn it to the right to go into the ditch, and she just center punches the left front. It kinked the roof. I mean, she hit me. The cop told me she was probably going about 45 when she hit me. And I was dead stopped. And if you look at the pictures, and I'll find the pictures, we'll put them up here, you can see where she hit me so hard that I had stopped. And then there's a tire mark from where she pushed my left rear tire on the pavement back about a foot, maybe a foot and a half. And so I just remember being like stunned. And then there's the powder. I don't know if you've ever had an airbag go off.
Thankfully, no.
There's like this powder that's in them, and it just like it's like you're in a hazy dream. So you on top of I've been hit at 45. Girlfriend is in the passenger seat. She's like stunned. She's like, and she got hit so hard that it lashed her. The seatbelt gave her like a seatbelt lash, and it knocked the breath out of her. So she's like trying to get her breath. And so like this whole scenario is playing out and I'm like, are you okay? I'm trying to get her. Are you like, give me an answer. Like, are you okay? And she finally says like, she finally kind of gets her breath. She's like, yeah, I'm okay. Well, then by that time, which it felt like 2 seconds, the lady that hit me is standing outside my left front, and she's freaking out.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, she's like screaming and yelling. And I just remember going, are you okay? And she finally was like, and she like keeps yelling, and I finally said again, I was like, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm okay. And then I was like, hush. And I'm like, all right, am I okay? Like, what is, like, I've went through the two people that are involved in this other than me. So I'm like looking at me like, and my left foot stuck because it got wedged between the clutch and the brake pedal.
You put your foot through the floor, basically.
That too. Yeah. And then when it hit, like I said, the pedals actually came together. So it wedged my foot in there. And the door was kinked. You couldn't open the door. Roof's kinked. So we climb out her side. But that was the end of the Camaro that night. And it was a really sad day. But it was a major hit. Yeah, and there's a Foo Fighters CD in that radio. I took the radio out. We went to the junkyard that night. And I pulled the radio out and unplugged it. It's still sitting in Dad's house with a Foo Fighters Greatest Hits CD in it. One day I will put power to that and get that CD out of there. But that was however long ago now. 12 years or something. So that was the end.
That's so wild.
The end of the RS Camaro, and it went to a junkyard, and I think that Hawks Performance. There's like a company called Hawks Performance. I think he came and bought that car.
Oh, really?
Did you know that back glass was, well, this is what we were told at least. The back glass of that car was the largest piece of production glass that they had ever made. And it was like a double curvature. The back glass is huge in those cars.
So I didn't know that, but it makes sense looking at it.
So I might have been the Hawks guy that told us that. That's but it was just but he bought the car basically to piece it out for stuff like that because the back glass was fine and things like that.
It's wild that it hit that hard in the back glass. I guess the roof just saved it.
The roof saved it because it kinked it right above my head, right here. Like basically, if you're sitting in the car, right there is where it kinked the roof so bad.
You're lucky you didn't kick it harder, and she hit you straight on.
Like I said, luckily when I turned it to the right, it helped me because basically the wheel was already turned like this when she hit it, and so it didn't like try and jerk it or break something or any more than it did. The cop told me, he was like, "Dude, you did everything you could do." He's like, "You did everything right." He's like, He said, "I know it don't make you feel any better, but you did everything you could do. This is 100% on her, you know." Yeah. So,
well, you got a new car out of the deal, I'm sure.
Rip Camaro. They paid us whatever for it, and then that ended up to an 03 Silverado 4-wheel drive truck, and then that ended up into my 2007 Tahoe that I have.
Right on.
Yeah, or that I had. Yeah, it was a black old state surplus Tahoe. But yeah, that thing has like a Texas Speed LS3 in it right now. With I told you about Dad's friend that has that truck there. Yeah. He put that. That's that Tahoe is my old one. That had like 300 and some thousand miles on it or something.
I'm sure the bearings look fine. It's all just
It was fine. Yeah, but like I said, he threw it all, or I guess he kept it. I don't think he threw it away. To be fair, I think he kept the engine and stuff. But he just put that Texas Speed. I think it's an LS3.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway. What about your first car? Because you still have yours.
Yeah, so mine's a little bit better, a little more lighthearted, I guess. It doesn't end in such tragedy. It's not so sad. It doesn't sound like Titanic over here.
It's been 84 years.
Been 84 years as he throws that Foo Fighters CD into the water. No, so my first car is my 67 Nova, and I did have an 84 Blazer around the same time, which I don't know if you want to hear about that story too.
Of course.
So my 67 Nova we got in 2011 when I was looking back at pictures, and that was about when I was 14 years old. We got that car from the original owner. So when we were in Sacramento, my dad worked with this one guy at the county when we were there. He worked with him for 5-6 years, whatever it was. And then my dad got a new job, but he knew that we worked on cars, and my dad worked on his Chevelle. He had like a 69 or 70 Chevelle.
Okay.
That my dad worked on and got it running for him and everything. That was back in like the 90s that they did that. 90s, early 2000s. And then sometime later, that guy reached back out to my dad and said, "Hey, that Nova that my mom has, she wants to sell it, and we're looking at probably selling it in Australia." And so he had to go overseas because there's people. And at that point, my grandpa still had, he had a freight license, like inspect cars and everything like that. So the car was going to come over to our shop. My grandpa was going to inspect it. They were going to go through it, make sure everything was good. It had tires, make sure all the brakes and everything worked. And then it was going to get shipped to San Francisco, and then off it went. And it got to the shop, and basically the story was I slept in the car the night it got there. And it was kind of one of those things. We can't let this car get cut up and turned into a drag car over in Australia. That's not going to happen. And I think when we got it,
This is the Nova?
Yeah. It was a 67,000 mile original mile car.
Wow.
She bought it brand new out of Woodland Chevrolet. It had, and it's funny. At some point, it got like it got a 65 Nova rear end in it. It had, but when we got it, it was still 4-wheel drum brake. It's still manual brakes, still manual steering. Had the sheepskin. Over all the seats. Not bias ply tires that were square because they sat for
so long. Yeah,
and she, and it was one of those things. If you're a GM guy, you let go of the lap belt and it slaps. And it slaps that rocker. There's a dent in the rocker. That little aluminum.
Just where it hit
so many times.
Did it have like Body by Fisher? Like
It's that little thing. There's a spot where she would open the door into something, and there's about 25 little dents on the side of the door for she just like bashed into things. It still had the 2-barrel on it. There was one spot, there was like a Chevron like service station that would service it, and they would just grease up all the front ball joints. They would just grease everything up and change oil, and off she went again. And they must have done that for 40, 30 years in that car. Crazy. And so I think now I finally have kind of taken care of it. But every time you worked on that car, you were just a greasy monkey, just covered in grease, because they would just grease everything.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, it probably saved the car at points.
It kept the car totally working and functional and everything. But so we ended up, my parents ended up buying that car. I think it was kind of like my grandparents and parents bought that car when I was 14 with the intention that it was going to be my car. And obviously I've been around cars and was in the cars and everything like that, but it was never really had a sentimental attachment to anything. Like I never had a reason to like, I'm going to go work in the shop for 5 hours because you're 14. You're just a dumb kid. Yeah. I'm going to go play with G.I. Joes and, when you're little, and I'm just going to go do this. I'm going to go play video games and go do stuff. Kid things.
Been there.
And then you have this thing now in the shop and it's like, oh, hey, let's go do this. Let's put an intake on it. Let's put HEI on it. Let's go do this stuff. And right. Okay. So we start doing that kind of stuff. I start kind of learning some of the things on how to do it and everything. And then there was a couple of car shows when I was playing baseball that we put on at one of the middle schools I went to. And I ended up, when I was 15, allegedly, without my license or anything, I drove it the 4 or 5 miles over to the place by myself.
Yeah.
And so, you're driving a car by yourself for the first time, and it's this Nova, it was crazy.
That is crazy.
And it was super cool doing that. And I drove go-karts and lawnmowers and tractors and all that stuff before. So you know how to drive things, but you never been on the road. And on the road, this old Nova, you're like, okay, this is my car. This is my baby. We're doing this.
Anytime the first time you're in a car by yourself going somewhere is crazy.
And you're 15.
Yeah, you're 15. You're 15, but then you're like, you did it in a 67 Nova. Yeah. Like I did it I guess the first time I went out by myself was like in a 98 Suburban. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, that's crazy.
And like I drove like other trucks and stuff like that around with like, oh hey, let's swap seats and stuff like that. And I drove that car a couple of times before with my grandpa. Like we went and got exhausted, and on the way back there was a spot where he like parked in the middle of the road and got out and, all right, you're driving. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. And I drove it home kind of thing. But yeah, so we, and then I got my license, which around that same time I got my license and everything, it was kind of that point where you're not going to drive this to school every day of your life. It's a 67 Nova. You're not driving this every day. So back then we had 10 or 15 cars in the property kind of thing. And there was one that a friend dropped off at our house, and it was an 84 K5 Blazer that was a 6.2 diesel. It was an NA diesel Blazer. It was his wife's truck they bought brand new, and then they gave to his daughter like her first truck kind of thing. Complete gutless wonder. If you've ever driven a 6.2 diesel, they're the slowest possible thing you can ever drive in your entire life. But you'll be happy because it's a diesel, it blows black smoke, and you get 20 miles a gallon. So you're happy as a.
Would they get that good of mileage? Yeah, I had no idea.
On 3150s, it got 21.
Wow.
Wherever I went, and just
that's crazy. Those things are so bad that our dad has told me that they ruined diesel engines for him for so long. He wouldn't buy a diesel truck for so long because those old NA diesels and those like Blazers and stuff were so bad, like so slow.
It had a quarter-inch fuel line. That was the feed line. It's a quarter-inch feed fuel line. That's what feeds that. That 6.2. But so we pulled that thing out. It hadn't ran in I don't know how long at that point. I don't remember. I remember like digging through that truck when I was a little kid, like because I thought of it just, this is really poor taste. I thought of them as the poor man work vehicle with square bodies. I thought they were kind of ugly when I was little.
Yeah,
they were.
That's what they are. They're just they were always intended to just be a work truck.
Yeah, they were just the work truck.
They weren't supposed to be hot rods and lowered like we do now.
They were the landscapers trucks, and right. That was the person, and that's my polite way of saying that.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
People will probably laugh at that part, but but so I was like, all right, well, I guess we can drag this thing out, and we drug it out and literally poured WD-40 and some starting fluid through it, and it smoked for about a minute and a half, and it idled totally fine. And we drove it around. It had square tires. Drove it, put tires on it. We put stereo system in it. I think my dad had to put freeze plugs in it because there was a couple freeze plugs went out, and then I was mixing back and forth in high school between those two, and like bad weather and stuff. You drive the Blazer because and again at that point. In California, being a diesel, it was not smog. Because I think diesels was 96, it was either 92 or 96 for diesels. Anything older than that was smog exempt, so I didn't have to smog it. We didn't have to do any of that kind of stuff. So I drove both of those until we moved. I mean, those were my 2 cars.
Right.
And then ended up selling the Blazer before we moved, which we got 11.5 out of that.
Wow.
Out of that thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm like, I threw it. It was really sad. It was one of those things when we were moving. We were getting ready, everything ready. We were having a yard sale. And I was like, I'm going to throw the Blazer up on part of it because we probably need to sell it anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to put
unreasonable price tag.
I put like 12.5 on it.
Yeah.
And a guy came out specifically for the Blazer and he offered 10 grand cash sitting there. And I said, I don't know if we can do that. Like I was totally unprepared to
because you didn't think you were going to actually have to sell it.
I didn't think I was actually have to sell it. And then he talked to his wife. He called someone else, and he came back and he said, "I'll give you 11.5 for it." And it was one of those.
I need the 11.5 more than I need the Blazer.
I'm selling the Blazer right now. And you're like, oh my gosh. And then, I mean, it was one of those things. You're like, okay. And the guy drove it off. And
yeah.
But I mean, I won in that truck. I think we had 2 different 7R4s in it because it just grenaded the 7R4s. But
okay.
It would just lose. It would like lose second or third. Which I can't remember if that truck had 200,000 or 300,000 miles. It turned over once.
Either way.
It turned over once for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
And, well, I mean, and it still had 60 pounds of oil pressure when it started. And I mean, it just drove fine. It was totally happy. I won $50 in a slow car shootout at Sac Raceway for having the slowest car in competition.
What did it run?
Take a guess. I want you to guess.
Quarter mile, right?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. 19. No, slower. 24.
24.54 at like 54. It didn't even break 55 miles an hour. And that was so in that truck, it was funny. If you gave it 3/4 throttle, that's as fast as you're gonna go. If you go full throttle, it's just gonna put more fuel to the coals. You're not actually going any faster.
Right.
So I would just go 3/4 throttle and just off it went. And I won $50 when the slow car shootout.
Yeah.
But and I think I lost first round because I think I broke out, which is
that's kind of sad when you break out in 24.
It was like I think I dialed like a 24.55 or something like that. I ran like a 52, and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
But which is so hard to dial when you're going that slow. It's like a sundial.
Yeah. But they always around here. You'd say we clocked it with a calendar.
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. It was so bad. But I think I had like 50. I cut like 05 lights, 30 lights with those big 31 tires and stuff. But yeah, so that was. The Blazer was kind of the story of that truck. And we had that forever. It's always made me want to have another Blazer or some form of six. And it's one of those like character flaws. I always want another 6.5 turbo diesel or 6.2 just because I know what they do. It's like I'm fine with their lack of horsepower. I understand
their purpose.
They're just like a dog. It's like they're just kind of cool. It's like I know you're an old dog. You're kind of blind. You can't really hear, but I love you anyway.
Right. You hold awesome. A place in my heart.
Yeah, you hold a place in my heart. So. But yeah, and then we hauled the Nova out here behind my dually. We hauled that car back out here. We've had I guess kind of 50-50. I kind of refer to myself as David Freiberger with that car, and it's either the Crusher Camaro or it's
the
Super B. And the Crusher Camaro, I think of it that way is because I've had like 5 different iterations of motor in that car. My 350's been in it in like 3 different ways. The 283, we still have the factory 283 for that car.
Oh, really?
It's sitting in the shop right now. That engine's been in the car twice now because we had a cam issue with the 350, so we just before we were moving, we threw the 283 back in it. Then we had a 307 in the car for a while. That car has been I haven't been to the East Coast Ocean yet, but we took it to the ocean once. Abby and I did. My wife and I took it to the ocean. We went up to Oregon when I was 17. We took it on a road trip up to Oregon. And it's been to Nevada. It's been on Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah. You've got a video of that.
Yeah, that was really cool. Which I got so much flack for driving that thing on the salt. Oh, people went
freaking
after
out.
me about that.
And you just blasted it as soon as you get off, right?
I just washed it. I mean, as soon as I got into Tennessee, I washed everything off. And I mean, I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah,
There might be a few little specks in the back of the frame and stuff, but I'm like, it's not that.
It's amazing. I've always wanted this super random thought, but I've always like these guys who run Bonneville and stuff. I would love to see their cleanup procedure when they get home, because like I don't know what they have to do, but it's extensive. Like it has to be.
One guy that I know, he was like a friend of a friend, and that was like his grandpa, and he would go to Bonneville and he had flathead, like supercharged flathead stuff, and he talked about having to literally take everything apart, like
take the whole thing apart.
Take the whole thing apart,
and blast
like because he would go out there with like this old, he had a 40s like Ford truck that he would haul his dragster with out there, and he would go out and do everything, but he'd have to take his truck apart, the car apart, the trailer apart to get everything actually
clean
when you're to run it. Which is why every time we've talked about doing Bonneville and stuff, I would 100% go get like an 88 Camaro or something that's already kind of aerodynamic anyway, but I don't really care about the car.
Right. Yeah.
So like
I've had the same thought too.
Put a big,
or even a 92 Camaro. That would be cool. That would be cool. I've always thought like no. I've always thought like that. We've talked about that before, but me and Dad have before about that. But I'm like, I think if I ever did that, it would have to be in a car like that. Like you said, just something I don't particularly care about.
No.
But you would learn, if you do something like that with it, you're gonna start to love it.
And you would take care of the car, obviously.
Exactly.
You would obviously take care of it, but it's something that's like...
But it can't be something that's already sentimental to you, because it's going to eventually get damaged in some way.
Like, you're never going to build the 55 to build...
Never.
I would never build the wagon, even as nasty as they are. I never build one of the wagons to do that. I never take my Nova actually out there to go do it. I would never... I think I got like up to like 60 miles an hour when we were cruising out there, just because it's like...
It's Bonneville.
It's Bonneville. You have to go a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
And I judge people a little bit for not wanting to just take... I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity probably to do this. Yeah. And I'm like, even at some point, it's like, I'm never getting rid of my Nova.
Right.
So if I have to put in rear frame rails in the car at some point, or if I have to put a trunk panel in it or something or whatever ends up getting rusty because I did that,
it'd be okay.
I'm gonna have a picture in my house that's this big of the car at Bonneville, so I don't
so
care.
Cool. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
But yeah, so
I had no idea that the Nova was your first car until right before we started this. So that's really cool that you're able to do it, and that you do what you do on YouTube and stuff with it too.
Technically, the second owner for that car.
Yeah, that's also cool.
Crazy to think about that kind of stuff, but.
Yeah. I have one more story I have to tell.
Go for it.
It's not about the Camaro. It's about my third car, and it's the Tahoe, the black Tahoe. I've never told this. Dad's going to kill me when I tell this story, because he's never heard it. So I was known of when me and my friends went places or out places, I drove. I was the driver. Like there wasn't even a question about it.
Me too.
No, when they'd be like, all right, we're going out tonight. Cool. All right. And everybody would pile on the Tahoe. First off, probably because I had a Tahoe. Yeah. Second off, I'm not riding with any of them fools. I've ridden with them.
They're
it's
crazy.
Okay.
I
trust myself. Well, there's a road around here that we would always go up, and it was called I think people actually call this place Eagle Rock, but it's like one of those places, like an overlook. It's not an official overlook, but it's like an overlook. It's got like rocks and stuff in it. Kind of a place everybody goes. You can look over Asheville and stuff, and it's a really neat place. But we would always like race up this, right? Like see how fast we could go up this, and in my Tahoe.
Yeah.
Well, so we were always doing crap.
And you're
like
what,
that.
in your early 20s?
This is early college, so yeah, like I'm
so
like
still dumb,
18, 20,
dumb guy,
in that range.
Dumb young kid.
Yeah, dumb. Yeah, really dumb. And so one night, again, we're always doing stuff like this. So one night we all pile into it. There's me and 5 other dudes in this thing. So the back seat's got 3. I can't remember who all's in there. There's 3 of them in the back. There's 1 in the passenger seat. And then the State Trooper Tahoes don't have a center console.
Oh, so
there's a dude sitting in the floor here. And so they're like, I know about this old logging road that's up here.
Gosh.
Let's go on this. And I was like, all right, let's go. So we go up here and we find this logging road, and we go down this logging road, and they're like, they all have some sort of weird trust in me, especially at that time, because like I had like this confidence of just like, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
like,
it'll be fine. Yeah, I got this.
So we go down there and we're going too fast. And like and at one point We come around the corner, and I've got it laid. I mean, this is a 2007 two-wheel drive tire. I've got the back end laid out, and I remember looking over here, and it's rock face. And if you look over here, it's cliff face. And so, like, there's nothing but woods down here, and there's just a rock
just
wall full like this.
Locked out.
And I'm like, and I remember all the guys going like, in the background, and like I just remember hearing it, but it was almost like I wasn't there. It was just like I wasn't listening to them at all. I was very focused on what I was doing, because I remember having the thought, Jake, if you lose this, you're gonna kill a lot of people. And I remember thinking like, that could be really bad.
There's gonna be a lot of people upset with me right now.
I am in full focus, and finally get it straightened back out. And then at that point, I slowed down. I was like, all right, I think that's probably enough, guys. And they're like, I just look and like all of their faces are white, and they're like freaking out. They're like, you didn't have that. You just did not have that. And I was like, clearly I had it. Would you please calm down? Like,
it was
this
like
is
that planes,
not that
trains,
big a
and
deal.
automobiles. Like,
and then they were like, and when we got done, they were like, all right, Jake can drive anywhere we want. Like, they like even had more trust in me at that point. And I was sitting
you
there
didn't kill them, so
they're
like,
okay. Because I told them, I was like, I remember thinking like at one point, like, definitely if I lose this, and they're like, you never thought you didn't have control? I was like, nope, I always had control. But I remember thinking, if you lose control here, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be really bad.
That's legit.
So it was
That's so funny.
That's about the wildest thing I did, to be fair.
So, that's hilarious.
You got a story like that?
I have one that's not as bad as that one, but it's kind of a scary, like, thank God I didn't jump on it one more time kind of story. So me and one of my best friend from California, he was my best man at our wedding and everything. He and I would go out, and there was a couple of times where we go out just driving, and we would just go, like, there was a couple of roads that we would go hit, and we took his car one time, and then we took my Nova over when she was driving a BMW. So corners in a BMW, you're like, this is an enthusiast thing. It's enjoyable, and you can jump on it, and it doesn't care. My Nova's like a raw, muscle, just like manhandling something around corners. Right. It's like the four speed.
And it still doesn't have power steering, right?
No, it's never. So that car's never had power steering. Yeah. At this point, the car still had stock suspension. It had stock replacement shocks. I might have had QA1 single adjustables at the back at that point. No, I didn't. So it was still like OEM Spectra shocks all the way around. It had front disc brakes and power. Yeah. And then it had the 350 in it with camel hump heads. So, I mean, it was probably making 300 to the crank probably-ish. That was when it was running about 1380s and 1390s, because I still had the 273 open rear end in it. But there was a road that we would go down, and I think it was called Salmon Falls Bridge. It was like between a couple big cities, but it's literally going through like these multi-million-dollar houses and everything. But it's, for the most part, it's just, there's a river on one side, and the same thing, river down a cliff, and then rock faces, and it kind of, you're switching back through it. And I was getting on it around corners, and he had to like Google up on his phone, kind of like a rally driver kind of thing. And we were like, all right, you're gonna slow down around this one. And as soon as I would come around a corner, I would just like mat it, and then you're hot dogging around corners and stuff. And there was a spot where we came around a corner, and there was a bridge, and I kind of like slowed down around the bridge, and I went to hit the brakes just to kind of slow down. And we were running for probably about 5 to 10 minutes of doing this, like around the corners. There's nothing.
Oh, it just goes to the floor.
There's no brakes. And I'm like, oh no, this is not good. No. So I slowly start like second, first. Yeah. And thank God, where that bridge is, right there's a little offshoot, and there's a little like park area over there. So I'm sitting there pumping the brakes I put it in neutral. I end up putting the car in neutral, and we're just coasting, and I'm pumping the brakes going down this little thing, and we go in, and it literally, the perfect is just like perfect. No one pulls out in front of me, and I just pull right into a parking spot, and it just stops, and we're like, and we're done. And we get out and we look, and the rotors were blue.
Oh my god!
That's how hot we got those brakes. Because of how hard I was driving the car. I was driving that car hard, and I mean, it was to the point where my buddy was like holding onto the door, because we were coming. I mean, you're throwing door handles on the ground pretty much around corners. But yeah, that was.
Oh man, I've never had that happen, but I always thought that like it going to the floor, your gut just like.
Oh yeah,
your heart's
like,
in your stomach.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, this is not good. That was. As far as me driving, that was the only like scary, like me being a dumb kid. And not too long after that, I put the rear discs on the car after that, because I had them. So I'm putting these guys on. It's happening. And then the only other like scary thing that ever happened, we were coming back from, I think, baseball or something like that. My dad was in the Nova with me. I think we were coming back from my brother's like game or something like that. And it's a 4-lane road and there's a median in the middle. I think it's a 4-lane. And there's a median in the middle. There's a neighborhood on this side. There's like fields and stuff on this side. And there's cars going both ways. We're going back this way and there's a car that decides to pull out. And they don't see us because there's a car right here and they don't see where we're at. And at that point, they were like, like, I saw them out that way and it was probably, they missed. I mean, it was one of those things, there's no one in the median. I took the median and I, pitched the whole thing sideways and my mom was the car in front of us and all she sees is that car pull out and then she sees my car go like this and then she sees nothing but dirt and my car almost sideways come back in the lane. But it was one of those, I went that way, went back that way and, and back in my lane and they missed the car, nothing happened. And I was just like, whew. But it was one of those just complete reaction. Like I didn't think about it.
Yeah,
I just your body just reacted to doing it, and like I knew there was nothing over there, so you just react and
yeah, that's scary.
Like, that guy had blue eyes. Like holy crap!
You can remember. That's how I am with the crash with the Camaro. I can remember everything about it.
Right now, I can picture that car sitting there. I'm like, oh god, this is not good.
I know,
but as far as close calls go, that was the
two closest. Yeah, that's fair. That's
and old hot rod stuff, which is
that's sketchy. Yeah, I was in a modern thing, and it was still pretty sketchy. But anyway,
you're pitching it sideways.
I was pitching it sideways. A gravel road with that heavy Tahoe.
That's fun.
It was fun up to that point. It was still kind of fun up at that point, to be honest with you. But anyway, so that's my stories about the first car. So that was fun to tell that because I did not, like I said, I've never told that any of those stories, like even on the car or anything. So I'm glad we did that. That's
awesome. I haven't told those on social media stuff ever. So
yeah, that's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, hop down in the comments. Tell us what your first car was. Let us know what you guys did, or maybe you have a stupid story where you did something crazy or something irresponsible.
If you have anything that's actually like a long story, you can message either one of us on Instagram or comment down below, and we can tell that story.
Yeah, I would love that. That would
on
be
the
fun.
podcast, so we can talk about stories and we can riff and we can
That'd be fun.
We can commiserate on how dumb you were as well, because we're pretty stupid too.
We do dumb stuff sometimes. Yeah, absolutely. But I think Collin, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's.
My voice cracked. Did you hear that?
Yeah,
I'll hit puberty one day. I promise.
He's older than me, folks, and he's still hitting puberty. Zoinks.
Man, I like I said, we had a really good time doing this, and we have a lot of fun hanging out together. And I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope we get more people on this episode than we did on the first one. Yeah. I really enjoyed the stories a ton. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up for this episode, and we'll just keep on digging, and we'll just let it ride.
Yep, sounds good. Be sure to like and subscribe, follow along for the next couple, and we'll be sure to follow on Instagram and stuff as we post more of the clips and reels and everything. And then, like I said before, if you have anything you want to add to either a story, any kind of thing you want us to cover more, just let us know. Yeah. Because if you put it in the comments, we're going to make it happen, because we've got the next episode after this one is directly because of a comment that we got on the first episode. Absolutely. So definitely do that and we'll make it happen. Yep. So let it ride. Let it ride. See you guys next time.